past before you became published. We'll start with you, Jill.
All right. Well, I was actually a copywriter at a big retail corporation before this. I majored in journalism as well. And yes, definitely not a fully formed author at all. I always loved storytelling, but I didn't really take it up seriously until COVID, and did a manuscript and pitched it to agents and got some great feedback, but it didn't quite hit the mark. So I put it in a drawer, but I kind of feel like it was a DIY MFA. I really learned a lot and feel like I'm still learning, with this being my second. So, yeah.
Jen, what about you? I heard you were the scourge of the public library system.
Yeah. I know. John and I go way back. That's why it's a respectful relationship. No, we're good friends. Yes, exactly. We're going down together. My background is librarian, as you mentioned. I knew I wanted to be a writer pretty young. Didn't really know how to go about that. I had the English. Okay, so I was in college getting an English major, but it really interfered with my social life. So, a lot of reading. And so then I kind of was in the library on a quiet morning recovering, and I looked around and I was like, oh, it's quiet here, and I'm surrounded by books, which I love, because I loved reading, but I didn't necessarily loved, the academic, like Sound and Fury almost killed me. Let's just be honest. But so I was surrounded by books, and it was just like, and then I just really got it together. Like everything turned around. I became like a straight A student. Shocking. And just plowed through. And then I was working in libraries, and the books are coming in, and you're seeing the bestsellers, and you're reading some and going, oh wow, I'm never gonna be like Christina. I'm never gonna be that good. And then you're seeing others, and you're like, how did this person get here? Which is very encouraging. But it really is, butt and seat. And so I started writing romance, thinking it was easy. Yeah, dead bodies move a plot much easier than authentic romantic angst, which I'm not good at because I don't like torturing my characters, except for the ones that I've killed. So anyway, and they deserve it, but anyway. So it was kind of a long and winding road. I did start writing like you. I submitted. I got a lot of good feedback. The other thing I did was join writers groups where you could enter and judges would tell you, wow, do you understand what point of view means at all? Clearly not. So, you take all that. It's the DIY MFA. I love that. I'm stealing that forever and ever. Amen. And then, it just finally, I wore publishing down, and they published me.
Let's turn to your new book. What can you tell us? What do you want readers to know about the book? Jill?
What do I want readers to know about the book? I would say, there's the fun treasure hunt, that like external plot, but I would say internally it's kind of that sense of discovery of finding yourself along the way, what we choose to carry and what we choose to inherit. So
that was appropriately mysterious. Jen?
I do have one question for Jill. Where is it set in Arizona? I haven't had a chance to catch up to it.
It's sort of a fictional. It's fictional, and
smart.
so, but I stole the name from like Jerome and Prescott, so it's Jericho. So
love it.
Yes, and then a fictional mountain.
So you could take elements of both those towns and put it in, and people would know it was like the wink to
little nod.
Cool.
Yeah,
she's on my short list of my to be read pile. Just so you guys know, I'm picking up my copy today, as should everybody else.
Likewise.
But my book. Oh yeah, duh. I forget. See, the librarian, the book lover comes out, and I forget I write books. But anyway, Witches of Dubious Origin is kind of the same. I mean, it's good that we're matched up. It's very much figuring out who you are. And in this case, the heroine just wants a quiet life. She just wants no stress. She's had a tumultuous childhood, lost her dad young, her mother left her. She's got a lot of baggage, a lot of stuff, stuff you carry. And of course, life doesn't work that way, as we all know, and a book shows up in her life, and it turns out that it's the family grimoire, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with this or disrupt her very perfectly curated, quiet life, but she has to, because this book is not going away. And then, of course, as the story unfolds, she finds out she's descended from a family of witches that are known for raising the dead. Fun.
Both of your books, having read them, they don't fit neatly into one genre box. So can you talk a little bit about writing across genres? In your case, Jill, it's a treasure hunt, it's danger, but it's relationships.
Yes. Yeah, I really, that's what I love exploring in my writing is just the relationships, kind of the psychology behind it. And it really was, I intended for it to come out initially as much more of a thriller, but I just got so attached to these characters and really wanted to explore the tension between them. There's a romance, like a second chance romance happening, and there's this estranged friendship and kind of, what happens as they get put in the isolation of the wilderness with all of that.
So a lot about mothers and daughters, too.
Yes, absolutely. Exploring the complexities of mothers and daughters, for sure. Yeah.
Jen, your book is fantasy, mystery, romance. Is there any other genre you'd like to shoehorn into that book?
Kind of thinking I left out thriller and sci-fi. We're going to have to work on that. I call myself, because I have mysteries, romance, and now fantasy, I'm like queen of all genre. But I guess I have to do sci-fi and thriller, whatever. I'm sure I missed something. It was weird. Actually, when I wrote it, because my main character doesn't want to give up her quiet life, she kind of gets sucked into it because she realizes bad things happen to her grandmother and her mother. And now it's kind of like you have to make that decision to find out what happened to them. So when I turned in the first draft, and my editor, she was just like, it's not a mystery, right? And I was like, I know, there's magic and stuff. And she was just like, oh, child. Which is, if you read the dedication to the book, it is because my editor literally tied me up to the stake and lit the fire to be like, I want more magic. And she was 100% right. It's such a better book for her. So thank you, Kate.
Is it difficult, though, as an author, when you write books that come from different genres, in terms of marketing them, in terms of gaining a readership? I know there are some readers that are like, I won't read a mystery, I'll read your romance. I won't read your romance, I'll read your fantasy. I won't read about relationships. But I think actually what those readers might be missing is you have more books than Jill, Jen, but all of your books have a common DNA. That's your voice. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you can't escape me. It's like I show up in your world. It's interesting because I get a lot of people who say, I won't read romance, but I'll read yours. Yeah. And now with fantasy, I've gotten a lot of people who are like, I absolutely will not read about witches. And I totally respect that. We like what we like. At the end of the day, this is your safe space, your oasis. There's a lot of people, because I started technically in rom-com, but I really didn't get going until I was writing cozy mysteries, and a lot of people are just, why did you have to leave cozy mystery? And it's like, well, I can only kill so many people. and I want magic in my life. I think the interesting thing with being a writer, especially because I'm traditionally published, I have a few side hustles that are things that maybe my publisher wasn't excited about, but I was, so I did it anyway, but just a couple. They don't like you to leave the lane, and I have fantasy writing friends who are like, man, I really have this great idea for noir, but they tell me that's not my audience, and, I can't really switch lanes, and I just think the readership is missing out, because it is the author's voice at the end of the day. Every single book I've written, whether it's a cupcake bakery mystery or a London hat shop mystery or the fantasies or the single title rom-coms I'm doing, every single one has some kind of a mystery of some sort. I just like mysteries. Like I said, they move the plot along. Romance, I like human connection. I like writing. You are your most vulnerable when you fall in love with somebody. You are an idiot. You will make a fool of yourself. How is that not fun to read about? And gives you that whole depth to your character. Like, how do they behave? Do they reject love, or are they more like, yeah, I'm a complete dog and I love you, and So it's I don't know. And then with fantasy, that was actually the hardest shift for me, because while I love reading fantasy, and I loved, like, my first gateway book was probably The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Still remember my mom reading it to me as a kid. The world building is so hard. It's just like you have to make your own rules.
I was going to say the world building.
And then you have to be consistent. Like, I'm writing book 2 now, and unfortunately, I'm gonna ask you this in a minute. I don't do character Bibles or story Bibles. So even when I was writing my cozy mysteries, I would forget the eye color of a character, and then people would be like, "Yeah, you said he was 6'2" in book 1, and now he's suddenly like 5'11". What happened?" You know,
He got knocked down.
yeah, he's shrinking. Deal with it. And when you're getting into fantasy, like, you really can't just change the rules. Like, you have to be consistent. So now
They're worse
I'm
than
kind
mystery readers. They want.
They are.
consistency.
Fantasy readers are very, like, they know their stuff. So I'm trying to be really careful. But anyway, how about you? Do you keep a Bible? Do you keep a character Bible? Or?
I would say I have like a little bit of like a rough outline in the beginning, but then I feel like the characters take on a life of their own, and you just kind of get to know them as you're writing it. So yeah.
So
No. So short answer, no.
Let's talk a little bit about packaging the book, and part of that is the title.
Mhm.
I was fascinated by your title, Jill, because it actually it tells you a lot about the book.
Yes.
Can you talk? Was that your idea? Was that collaborative? How does the title reflect what readers are going to experience?
Yeah. No, the title, it was just easy from the beginning. Yeah, that was my first title, and it kind of stuck. And there's the saying, "All that glitters isn't gold," and so.
And it's a treasure hunt.
Yep. So you've got the literal with the treasure hunt, and then you kind of have where characters aren't exactly who they seem, and what is treasure to you at the very end, what is important. So
And then you kind of throw in, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right, but kintsugi
oh yes,
into the story, and how that kind of is also
Mhm.
reflective.
Yes, exactly. So how being broken and kind of that mending together
With gold.
with gold.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Jen, what about your title?
It changed, as they do. One of the things when you're an author is you don't really have control of your title. Sales and marketing has control of your title, and that's fine. That's their job. But originally, it was called Books of Dubious Origin, and my idea when I started out was that it was really more about this collection of books that are dubious, and they're in a museum of literature, also fictional, in New York City. There is one in Ireland, but sorry, moved it. But I made this just kind of wacky little Books of Dubious Origin collection. And it was supposed to be all those strange and weird books, like the Voynich manuscript and stuff that, people haven't been able to decipher or figure out and what they could possibly be. And then, of course, it just started rolling into magic books and, stuff like that. So for me, it was always going to be about the books and Books of Dubious Origin. And then people got their sticky fingers on it, and they were like, witches are hot. Let's call it Witches of Dubious Origin. And I was just like, okay. But judging by the response, they were right, per usual. And now I'm working on book 2, and I was like, well, let's just call it Witches of Questionable Intent. So it looks like we have a theme.
Let's talk about the actual writing process for you both. You've mentioned it a little bit, but Jill, am I correct in reading that you received over 100 rejections before you got published?
Yes,
So
I
it's
did.
kind of a lesson for writers.
Yeah,
Inspiring.
you do have to stick with it. That was for my first manuscript, and there was some almost, like I read your full and I really loved it, but there wasn't quite something, So that was, even though that can be disheartening, it was also really encouraging. Like, I'm almost there, and it's kind of like, well, I can't expect to like be a pro having done this only once, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to keep at it, and just kind of keeping the focus on, I love the writing, I love the process, and so whether I was going to be published or not, it was important for me to focus on that.
Jen, you are kind of the poster child for resilience in publishing because you've moved around a lot. how do you balance writing what you want with also being aware of what the market or what readers want? Because you can't write to the market, but you can't ignore the market.
I operate on panic. So I always think my career's over. Doesn't matter. We're on like book 62 and I'm still like, they're going to fire me. I'm never going to get published again. Sorry. But I think that's a me problem. I think other people are much more zen about the whole thing. I think you can't write to the market, but you can pay attention to what's happening. And I think a lot of times, like when I wanted to write fantasy, they were just like, well, do you really have a fantasy voice? Do you know what you're doing? No. But because I have a track record, it was like, all right, we'll let you try it. Well, we'll see how you do. I'm getting to a place now where I really think you just have to write the story. When I first was starting out, and everybody said this, write the story you want to read. Yeah, I did that like 6 times, and I kept getting rejected. So, wrong. But then I was pretty much done. Like, at this point, everybody had rejected me. I have a file like that. I feel you. And I wrote the book I really did want to read, and it was just a little rom-com, heavy on the com, set in Phoenix in a coffee shop. It was my life at the time,
We actually have copies of that now too, don't we?
Yeah, it came back out. To Catch a Latte was the original title, and I think I'm still using it. But this is how crazy it was. I spent my 20s chasing the dream, chasing it. I'm gonna be a writer, blah blah blah. And then it didn't happen. And in the meantime, I got married and I had a kid. And I kept submitting, and it got to the point where I would just forget because hundreds. And then I was holding that very tall man back there who was my firstborn, and he was 3 months old. Like I wasn't holding him, little. And I got the call. And I still remember because they asked for me by my maiden name. They're like, is Jenn McKinlay there? And of course, he's 3 months old. I'm exhausted. And I was like, yeah. And she said, okay, this is Wanda from Harlequin, and we want to buy your book. And I'm like, what book? Because it had been a year. Like, this is how slow it goes, It's like, and I thought that was bad. Now we're, like, doing film stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's even slower. Great. But I had completely forgotten, and then the woman was so funny, Wanda, she was like, usually people scream right now. And I was like, yeah, that'd wake the baby. Nope. So I feel like for me, it came at the perfect time because I spent my single youth chasing a dream, and it didn't happen, and it didn't happen. And then I met the love of my life, and I had my firstborn, and then I had my secondborn. And the writing came, but having it go in that direction, I knew what was really important. And the writing was just the cherry on top.
Jill, now that you have a published book to your credit, does it get easier with the second book? Or is every book more challenging?
More challenging. It does not get easier, for sure. My next book, I have like a multi-POV. And so in Glitter and Gold, it's a dual timeline. So that was a challenge in itself. And then now with the multi-POV, yeah, that's fun. So it presents with the plot and the setting and the characters just... yeah, something new each time, making it more difficult, but then also it makes me, I feel like, a better writer and a more well-rounded writer. So, yeah.
Jenn, after 60 books, does it get easier?
No. No, because I did a podcast the other day, the Well Read podcast, and we were talking about this. And she asked me, what's the best advice you ever got? And it was like 2010, and it was from Dennis Lehane, and he was talking at a conference. And he said, the best thing you can do for your writing career as a writer is to write a better book. So every single book that you write should be better than the last one. Okay, I'm in book 62. Like, how high is that bar? I do try. I try to make every mystery better than the last mystery because you learn things when you're writing, and you learn, oh, okay, I could have leaned more into that. I could have, put that red herring there, or whatever genre you're in. So I think if you're dedicated to the craft, it should never get easy. I don't think.
Let's talk a little bit. You touched upon it, the research involved. Because when you're writing fiction, people think you can make everything up. But there has to be some things that are rooted reality. Jill, I was fascinated by the treasure hunting aspect of the book because you really did capture how crazy those people are. I mean, in Scottsdale, we used to have people come to the library researching the Lost Dutchman mine, and it's like, give it up. You're never going to find it.
Yes.
But talk about your version of a treasure hunt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the research was so much fun. And it really is quite a unique subculture, the treasure hunting community. And I grew up fascinated by the Lost Dutchman mine. And so you'll see in the book like the treasure markers and everything. And so I incorporated that. And those are kind of a little bit of like half myth, half truths. So, where there's like little symbols carved into rocks or trees, things like that. So that was fun. And then learning about the, Beale ciphers, which is kind of reminds me of like National Treasure, where it's, it's this real treasure hunt where there's 3 clues, I think, and only one has been solved using actually the Declaration of Independence. So, and there's 2 more that remain unsolved since like the 1800s. But yeah, it was a great rabbit hole to go down with all the research and, any writer's Google search is crazy. It's like, for mine, it was like, what does rattlesnake taste like? Or,
Chicken?
Yep, that's what I learned. Yep. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Jen, any research in your new book? Did you have to delve into grimoires and witchcraft?
Yeah, I actually have an amazing witchcraft library now because I wanted things to have, you have fictional license, but there are, practicing witches out there, and I didn't want them coming for me, But it was also places that inspire me. So the book is set in what we call the Museum of Literature, what I call the Museum of Literature. I set it on Museum Mile in New York City, and I decided I had to be there for Mystery Writers of America because I was giving out the juvenile Edgar that year. So I was like, oh, perfect. I'll extend my time. I'll, enjoy Manhattan. And I can figure out where I'm sticking this building. Because at the time I was writing romantic comedy novellas about the Museum of Literature that kind of turned into this. Long story. Spite story. We'll save that. But I was walking and I saw the Cooper Hewitt, which is a Smithsonian Design Museum. And you can go in, and I went in and it was, oh, this is it. This is my setting. And then because I had this building that is so beautiful and so amazing, built by an industrialist, the story started expanding. Like, well, where would I put the books of Dubious? Oh, it's in the basement. So I feel like you always have to do a little bit of research to kind of give yourself that cornerstone in the story building. But then you just go crazy.
Jen, you have published some books independently. What experience is it like doing that versus traditional?
So you want the Spite story.
I do, yeah.
Okay, here's the Spite story. 2021, 2022, my agent said, hey, Audible's looking for original content. And they like stuff to be set around Valentine's Day, summer, and Christmas. They're very specific. It's audio original, so it wouldn't be paper, whatever. And, the pay is really nice, and you could kind of like bust your audience out. Because at this point, you're at a point, or at least I'm at a point, where I kind of want to expand my audience, like different genres, different formats. Novellas seemed like a great idea. Audible seemed great. So I wrote up these ideas, and it was a Museum of Literature, and the first one is called Royal Valentine, and it's a guy from England, and he's incognito in the museum, blah, blah, blah. It's a nod to Jane Austen. It was fun. The second one is a treasure hunt. That was fun, set in Greece. And then the third one is a Christmas romp that's kind of like it happened one night, but it happened one Christmas Eve. And I wrote them, and I loved them, and then Audible was like, no, we don't know. So it's like, fine, I'm going to publish them anyway. But my publisher doesn't do novellas. So I was like, well, this would be a great time to try self-publishing. So I did. And this is where, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Because my agent then Because I hired a professional editor, because I believe if you're going to self-publish, you hire the people that would normally work for you. So you get a professional editor, and they go through it 3 times, and you pay for that. And then you hire a professional cover artist, and they do an amazing job, and you pay for that too. Because I feel like you have to take it seriously, at least for me. And so I did all that, and they were popping up online. My agent calls me, and she said, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, those, yeah, because, you know, they pass." So, and she was just like, "Do you want me to sell the audio rights?" And I was like, "Oh, we can do that?" Because I thought Audible passed. She was like, "Yes, we can." You know, and I know she's just in her office like this because I'm the problem child. And it went to auction. And it was amazing. And now they're in audio too. And I got to pick the narrators, and it was super fun. And I was just like, "Well, take that, Audible." And so that was awesome and super fun, because I now have an editor in my back pocket for whenever I have a crazy scheme, which I always do. And I have a cover artist who's brilliant, and in a new format. And the best part was because I had written this wacky department into those novellas, this Books of Dubious Origin, and I set the cast. The Miles, Tariq, and Olive are in the novellas, and I couldn't let them go, and I couldn't let the department go. And that's where working out of spite suddenly launched me into a brand new genre. So I forgot what the question was, but
Indie versus traditional.
Oh yeah, that was a long road. Sorry. Indie is awesome. You have to hire the right people, and you have to be committed to it. I believe you should take it as, because the thing is, if you put out a bad book as an indie, you're not going to get any more readers. Why would people read you if the typos are terrible and your cover art is garbage? Nobody would. I wouldn't, even if you make it 99 cents. So I think you have to commit to it as your own side hustle business, invest in it. And then it's super fun because you actually get to pick your title. Oh my God. And you get to pick your cover, and you don't have this whole marketing department saying, So there's certain perks, for sure.
Let's talk about both Jen and Jill as readers, because you are writers, but you started out as readers. Can you talk about that journey for you, some of the authors that were important to you, books that may have influenced you, and as an added bonus, since we're coming up on Halloween, a couple of new things that you would suggest as treats, reading treats for readers. Start with you, Jill.
Oh, I love that. Let's see. Well, starting out as a kid, I would say my biggest faves were definitely Nancy Drew. And, you know, she would always go on a hunt. So definitely, obviously inspired by that. And I was big into like the Babysitter's Club and, you know, just those sort of series, Boxcar Children. Those all just, they're wonderful. They got me hooked on reading. And I think in the phase where I started, you know, working on my own stuff, I was very inspired because my first manuscript was more straight up thriller. And so I was really inspired by Ruth Ware. I loved her stuff. And love Lisa Jewell, and let's see, who else do I tend to read in that genre? Stacey Willingham, love her, and I tend to love suspense or thriller, but I also love some good historical fiction or mystery or fantasy. So yes, I'm equal opportunity reader. And some good ones for Halloween are what I have read recently, Wayward.
Oh, I love that one. Amelia.
By Amelia Hart. Yes.
Clark, but that's the Game of Thrones girl.
Right. Yes. So Wayward.
That was really good.
Really great.
Really good.
Yes. And what else? At my publisher, there's an author, Marie Still, and she wrote this book called My Darlings. And it's kind of this PTA mom who's basically Dexter. So, yes, it's quite chilling and creepy and really good. And also Rouge by Mona. Yes. Yeah, very, very creepy and eerie. Yes. Yes. So those would be my Halloween recos. Yeah.
Jen?
Halloween recommendations. That was the question, right?
And your reading history.
Oh, reading his genre. Like, it's funny because I was like snooty in reverse, where I was like, I don't read literature. And then I'm a big fat liar because I fell in love with Madeline Miller's Song of Achilles and Circe, and I read Percival Everett's James, which won all the awards, and it should have. It's amazing. So I'm a big fat liar. I do read literature, but don't tell anybody. I love all genre. Growing up as a kid, I was definitely a genre reader because I was reading escape. I was escapist. I mean, I'm 6 feet tall. It was hard. I was always at the back of the room, like, getting back, Jen, hunker down. So it was that whole, like, wanting to be other people. I wanted to be Nancy Drew. I wanted to drive. I can't even fit in an MG, but I wanted one. So it was a lot of escapism reading as a kid, and it was all the genres: fantasy, romance, and definitely mysteries. So for Halloween, because I'm doing this, I've been reading a lot of the current cozy fantasy market, and there's so much good stuff out there. If you like fantasy, but you also like a cup of tea by the fire. So my favorites have been Emily Wilde, Encyclopedia of Fairies. It's so different from anything I've read, and just weirdly captivating, but it's so great. But it's like if fairies were real, and there's I think dryadology department in Cambridge, and it's set in like early 1900s, but it's so good. I'm just saying. And there's 3 of them, so you should read all 3. So that was one that really captivated me. Another one for lighter, I just got Love's a Witch by Trisha O'Malley. That was fun. And then I'm trying to think, because I've been doing a lot of reading for endorsements, so I'm trying to mentally scan through what I've read. And it's hard because they're all coming out next year, so it's like they're not really appropriate for Halloween.
Well, you can tease us if it's a really good book.
The one I read that I really, really loved was written by Libby Page, and it's called This Book is Meant for You, or This Book Was Made for You. See, long titles are killer. Can we just have one-word titles?
That's Frida McFadden.
Yes. Right? But you remember them. It's either This Book Is Meant for You. I don't know. It's really good. It's coming out in January. Libby Page is the author. The cover is beautiful. It's a stack of books. But let me tell you the premise. A woman gets a note from her local bookseller. It's set in London. And there's a book waiting for her. And she goes to the bookstore to pick up this book that she has not ordered. And the bookseller explains to her that it's a book from her husband. Her husband died a year ago. And he has now gifted her a book a month for the next year to help her get over losing him. It's so good. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's This Book Is Meant for You, or This Book Was Made for You, or when you're giving someone Libby Page, Page. But it's very, very good, and it comes out in January. But that's probably the best one I've read so far.
I think you briefly mentioned this. I'm not sure how much you want to get into it, Jen, but you said something about filming.
Yeah. My first... Yeah, that's it.
This book made me think of...
Okay, see, I was totally wrong. This book made me think of you. Libby Page. Highly recommend. Thank you. My librarian self is so ashamed right now. Yeah, Paris is always a good idea, which was my first standalone, has been optioned for TV.
Awesome.
Paris is always a good idea. Mm-hmm. So, and that's another grief book. So, kind of. It's a woman trying to get over losing her mom and getting on with her life. But she goes to Ireland, Paris, and Italy, looking up the 3 different men she fell in love with during her gap year, trying to find her happiness again. So, and it was fun. But here's the thing, and this is what my agent always says about Hollywood. She's like, yeah, Hollywood called. That's great. Lay down until the feeling passes. Because going from being optioned to actually made into film is just a journey. Like, a lot of people get options. See, basically, I'm not trying to be negative, and I know I'm supposed to manifest positivity, but I'm just like, I don't want to get my feelings hurt. So we're very happy that it was optioned, but we'll see what happens.
Writing is a challenge, let's be honest, even on the best of days. But now you're facing another challenge in terms of AI. What can you say from the author's point of view about AI?
I'm going to let you start. I have feelings, so you guys.
Yeah, AI. It's really tricky, and you're like, I don't know.
You can
It
say
feels
it's
so.
bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's like, oh, man, just the idea of it, taking away from, authors who do it the right way and the hard way. and that it just spits out crap. So it's just it, and it's not like it's going anywhere, which is the unfortunate thing. And so it's, I guess how will it? You wonder just how it will look moving forward. Like, are there right ways that people are using it, in this industry? I don't know. It's right.
I think that's a perfect answer. That part. Mike. AI. It's not going anywhere. I think that's the thing that alarms me the most. I think for me, aside from, we're going to back up. I just spent a good couple of hours entering a lawsuit because I forget which one now because there's so many.
Your work and used it to train.
Yeah, they stole 60 of, maybe 50 something of my titles and used it to train AI. Thank you. And their argument for stealing it, you ready for this? It would be too expensive to pay for it.
Now they're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Not as much as they should have. But I think the thing for me is that what if we all had that attitude? Like, you know what? I think we deserve a Lexus, so let's just go get one. And I don't feel the need to. Well, it would be too expensive to pay for it. Can you imagine? No, it makes no sense. This is somebody's work, blood, sweat, tears. And when you think about how hard you work to write a book, that's just insane that someone just took it. So there are lawsuits, and I think authors will get compensated, but it's one of those things. You never know how much. You never know which judge, court, yeah, who knows? But we're going to try. But then for the creative part of it, as you were saying, I write 3 different genres, but I'm still me. Like, my voice is, you could read 3 of my books in each genre and be like, oh, that's Jen, and you would know it's me. AI, I don't care. It's never going to be able to do that. It's never going to, the stuff that I come up with, the stuff that I bring to my work, happens in a minute. I'll have a conversation with my youngest son, and he'll say something, and I'm like, oh, you guys say that? Because, I'm old, so it'd be like, what does no cap mean? And then it's like, well, can I write that in the, or am I going to sound like I'm trying to be young because I'm old? But like AI's not going to have all that going on, It's like I work so hard to choose the right words, the right expressions, to represent the feelings I'm trying to give and the experience I'm trying to give the reader. And I just don't think a machine, no matter how good they get, are going to get there. But that's just
there's comfort in, I guess, that it doesn't have that humanity and nuance in there. So
I'm hoping
it's
right. But it is creepy because I remember my oldest is a filmmaker, and when AI started, and so you can imagine how he feels. And then there's the environmental impact. Okay, see, you opened up a can, buddy, because it's like, I did a research the other day because I wanted to know if you ask ChatGPT a question versus asking Google a question, how much of the earth is being destroyed because you're using ChatGPT, because it's AI driven and not, I think, like an app like a Google. A general question in ChatGPT is the equivalent, it's 3 to 1. So it's like asking Google 3 questions in ChatGPT versus 1 question in Google. Okay, that's just a question. So then you go into make me a picture, or let's do a film together. And that's when your water is going to get taken. I mean, Memphis right now has one of those huge AI, and the water's being polluted. So it's like it has serious environmental impact because you have to have such a massive space. You have to have so many processors. You have to take so much water to cool it, to keep it cool. You have to keep it at like 40, 50-something degrees. So, I mean, the environmental impacts of AI alone is why it should be regulated. Never mind the creative, which for us would be, priority.
I think it's important to bring up, and I think readers have a role too. We should demand from writers everything: their blood, their sweat, and their tears. If I'm giving you 4 hours of my life, I don't want some machine spitting out something halfway through.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So as readers, look for authentic voices, authentic.
And I think a lot of publishers are, I know Crooked Lane is one of them, they will have their authors in the copyright page. No AI was used to create this book. And it may become that you have to start looking for that.
I just hate that it's taking the M dash. Like, I still want to use the
I
M
like
dash.
the little
Dang it.
dash. I use that all the time, and I'm like I'm not AI.
I don't want to. Yeah.
But it is getting scary good because originally, like, they would do an AI film or a picture, and the hands would be all, hot dog fingers. And my son, the filmmaker, was like, "See, it's AI because look at those hot dog fingers, And now the hands are normal, so it's like this is how fast. And that was a pretty quick turnaround. So yeah.
Let's turn to what's next from you as an author. We'll start with you, Jen, because you have several projects in the pipeline.
I do. I'm very, very fortunate. Next year's a pretty big year. It's an all three genre year. So in February, I have Booking for Trouble, which is a library lover's mystery. And I love the cover because it's hot pink, which you don't get a lot in cozy. So it's like one of those where I'm like, yeah. So that's exciting. I have no idea if there's going to be more of those. Schedule, life, yada, yada. But I'm very excited about that one. And in May, I have my next rom-com. And that one's called The Summer Share. And that one, I think I did make up that title. No, I didn't make up that title. Never mind. I think my agent made up that title. But it's a really good title. But it's a guy and a girl each inherit a cottage in the Outer Banks, which is a place I spent a lot of time as a kid. And they don't realize till they get there that they each inherited half from their grandfathers. So then there's a lot to navigate, and I can't give any spoilers. But that one was super fun to write, Outer Banks. And then in October, Witches of Questionable Intent, if I ever get done writing it, will be out.
Jill?
So my next one I'm working on is, that multi-POV. It's kind of Bad Sisters, the Apple TV show, or like Desperate Housewives. Yeah. Meets, I don't know if anyone's watched the Kurt Russell movie Breakdown, but it's like, kind of this road thriller, and they end up kind of being caught up in an accidental crime and then pursuing the truth about another crime. So I have that, and then starting to draft one that might kind of veer into like the romance horror, but it's, only like 12,000 words in, but that's my third one I've got going on.
Why don't we go ahead and take any questions we might have from the audience? Questions for Jill or Jen?
How do you come up with the names for your characters and your businesses? I know, Jen, for your businesses. Jill, if you have businesses in yours, how do you come up with the names for those things? Because Jen, your business names are.
I want to visit the cupcake store.
I ripped mine off. So I don't know how many of you in the Valley know Fairy Tale Brownies. Yeah, well, I took it and I made it Fairy Tale Cupcakes because I've had their brownies and they're amazing. But I didn't want to write about brownies. I wanted to write about cupcakes. So yeah, for me, it's that was one that I totally stole. And then, it's kind of like the Museum of Literature. There is one in Ireland. So I stole. So I steal things. I am a klepto.
Yeah, or those like baby name generator sites are really great for names. And then you kind of I like to then look up the meaning of those names and try to kind of add qualities to those characters so that their names feel like they match.
Characters are tough. I think characters, because then you look up what the meaning of the name is, and then you're like, oh, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Or if you get along and then you're like, they're not a so-and-so. I did that. And then find and replace. So.
And then you think you're like, and then it's also like, well, how old are they? What were the names that were trending? Do I want the trendiest name or do I want a less trendy name? So I look at a lot of years people are born because they're not my contemporaries. I'm writing younger people. But I think the spring book, she was, when I pitched it, I can't even remember what her name was, but it was like she so wasn't that. And then finally in the last drafts, and then of course you have to do the find and replace. So that was fun. Yeah. Now she's Hannah.
Other questions?
John, we have a couple online questions.
Okay.
All right, so first of all, Halloween treat question, specifically probably for Jen. What is your favorite John Charles baked good?
The pecan. Is it the cookie? Is it a cookie? A brownie?
Like a bar.
It's a bar. John's.
Online people are very jealous at the moment.
They should be. They're amazing. Did you make those today?
No, I ran out of pecans, but now we have peanut butter fudge, so you'll have to try that.
Nice.
I'll buck up.
All right, and the second question is, the online community is really interested in your world building. And can you kind of discuss the pain and the suffering that you went through doing this world building and what you learned from it?
Okay. Is this for both of us? Because I'll let her go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take it, Jill.
Okay, world building. So, I don't know. It is so hard. I think you have to initially, I first had to like tell the story to myself before like coloring in all those details. So first draft doesn't really have as much of the world building. You're just kind of just trying to figure out things and where they go. And, but then, the second draft, I feel like, and I tend to write from like a very cinematic perspective. I love using setting as character. And so just kind of coloring in the details from there. And, I use a lot of like nostalgia in my story from the early 2000s. And since I lived it, so it was fun to do stuff like,
Oh, honey. The rest of those are from the 1900s.
but yeah. So, adding, favorite, whatever the trends were at the time, and just those sensory details that help immerse the readers with the characters.
So was your book set in the early 2000s? Is that why?
Yeah, it's got like 2008
She's like 12.
and 2018. So,
Okay,
yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
They call it a dual timeline, Jen.
Yes.
I know. I don't think I've ever done that, though. Good on you. Every time I think about that, my head hurts. I'm like, it's like quantum
Yes,
physics. It's
right.
like, I can't. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. World building for me was, like I said, it was really hard. Fantasy was definitely harder. Like my mysteries are all pretty much in the current timeline. So are the rom-coms. But the fantasy is the current timeline, except, books have feelings and stuff like that. And it's a lot like you, where the first draft is kind of, like I said, I wrote really more of a mystery, and then the second draft was more of a fantasy, and the third draft was even more fantasy, and the fourth draft was more, and the fifth, you getting it? It was like I had to keep layering it in because it wasn't really natural for me, but I do have, I think I mentioned before, a library of witchcraft now. I have like Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, and the Arcane, Occult, here's a spell book, all these, like, there's some really cool books out there. So there's one scene in the book, and I don't think it's a spoiler, because I'm not going to use AI to tell me how to do magic, because that seems terrifying, but in a lot of ways. But also I like stuff, like I said, to have one foot grounded. And there are a lot of witches out there. They have published a lot of books. Some of it I'm like, oh, that spell takes a month. I don't have time for that in the book, But there's a scene where there's an undead Viking, and he is chasing our heroine through a graveyard, because awesome. And they have to trap him. And I was, well, how do you do that? Like, and you can sit there and be like, well, they did a spell and make up some Latin-esque words, and then they got him. And I'm like, well, that's way too easy. I need something harder. So I started going through all of these witchcraft books, and I found this one spell book, and it was like to bind somebody to the spot that they're in. I love this. It's so creepy. You need the needle that was used to sew a dead person's clothes. And then all you have to do, you don't even have to have a spell. You just need to get that needle through either their shoe or their hat, and they are bound. So I used that. So that's in the book. So it was stuff like that. So the world building was sometimes up here, but sometimes, which librarian. So, but that was the one that I thought was the most fun. And then there's just so many things like that, like if you're having a bad day or, whatever. And so it's there's just a lot of cool stuff out there.
To kind of dovetail on that, your book kind of illustrates, sometimes we think witches just come in one flavor, bad, but there's actually, like people, there are good witches, bad witches.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I agree. I think that was kind of fun, too. And then it's like, where are they from? Like, I put in one witch He's from, and in the books I call the male witches mages, because I never liked wizard. That just seemed like too Mickey Mouse with the hat. So I call him mages because witcher. He's from Nigeria. So then that was super cool because then I can use all their folklore and witch stuff. And I learned a lot of cool Nigerian words that I can't remember now because I'm not using them in the moment. And if I'm not, they're gone. So he was cool. Then there's the Olive, who's probably my favorite character because she's mean. And you're not allowed generally to have mean characters. Like my editor will be like, well, she's kind of mean. And I'm like, yes, she is. So, and she's a fey witch. So, but she's just mean about everything. And I think it's my alternate kind of non-pleaser self coming out. So therapy. And then you have kind of like Miles is the head of the department, and he's kind of like this white-haired, absent-minded professor. I think he's totally the guy from, Back to the Future, the mad scientist kind of guy. He forever will be that guy for me. And then we have our reluctant witch, who's the main character. Oh, and then the hot guy, Jasper. Oh, yeah, he's the hot guy in the book, who's also, his job in the book is, and like when I was writing it, none of this was plotted. It's like the character would show up on the page, and then it would be like, well, why are you here? And what's so great about you other than you're hot and you're British? Oh, you've got that gift. So I made him like the containment specialist. So basically when everything goes badly, Jasper swoops in and makes everything okay. And he has a thing with ravens that I'm not going to talk about because it's super cool. You have to read it.
Any last questions?
I do. Okay, so I have both books here. So from the time that you thought about the book in your head to the time it's now, like this one's coming out technically in 2 days.
Yes.
How much time is that?
3 years.
Wow. I'm trying to think. Generally, it's a year. Like it's a year from when I submit an idea and the publisher says, okay, if we must, to getting it written, going through all the revisions, going through, all that stuff to it getting it published. And I'm actually just trying to remember when I turned it in. But like for that one, the idea came when I was writing those novellas. So technically the idea came in 22. But I didn't realize it had the foundational material I've been looking for because I'm kind of slow. For a couple of years. So I think I sent it the idea in like early 24. So yeah, like almost 2 years.
Another question?
I'm excited to read your book. I'm sorry I haven't read one yet, but that sounds really great. Love yours. Big fan. Brittany, great name for a character, just saying.
Nice.
I
Yes.
wonder why.
Absolutely.
Question for you is your recipes that you put in your book, are those created by you? You finding those somewhere? Because I've used a couple of them and they were big hits. So.
Oh, good. I'm like, how'd they work out for you?
Yeah, the peanut butter cupcake with the icing. Oh, my favorite.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I like that one too. The Cupcake Bakery series with the recipes in it. Basically, what happens is I'm sitting there working, and I know I've hit that point in the story where we need a cupcake, and it's like, well, what do I want to eat right now? And sometimes, like, there's a mojito cupcake recipe. It's because I really wanted a mojito, but we're writing a cupcake bakery mystery, so it was like, yeah, that's how they come about. And then it's kind of like once you, and I didn't know this before I started writing this series, it's like baking is pretty standard. And then it's just the flavorings that you're changing, or the style of frosting. So once I had written a couple of books, it became a lot easier. It's like, okay, this is a chocolate-based cupcake, so I know exactly what it needs. Oh, but we're going to throw in chili because, so yeah. Yes, and luckily I had people growing up in the house who were consuming. And then I got an assistant who was a home baker. So she helped me put out a cookbook for the first 8, and we have to double back, but we haven't got it. It's time, but yes.
Other questions? Way in the back?
What do you do as a mental break if you need it, if you need to not think about writing? If you need to kind of like reset, what do you do, or do you need to do that?
Mental break. Yeah, I think, and the mental breaks are great because I like to think of those as sort of incubation phases where you're still thinking about, what you're writing, but walks are are just my absolute fave, and I'll still be, thinking out like a plot line or character interiority that I want to add, or even sometimes cleaning around the house. And I always love to have a kind of a good themed playlist, so that can help too with those mental breaks.
Very nice. A lot of the same. I think mental breaks are critical because you'll be stuck on a plot point or the story's just not working. So I have a little garden I putter in. I have dogs that I walk. I'm a crafter, so maybe I'll knit something. But there's two places where things get fixed. The shower or driving. And it's always the most inconvenient place because you you can't use your phone and you don't have a pen and paper. So it's always just like, and then of course I'll do remember this. Or the worst is when you're falling asleep and it's like, oh, I'll remember that. And then I don't remember that. Lesson learned. But I think the mental break though is kind of where you work stuff out. You're thinking about, whether your cantaloupe is going to make it or in this desert heat, why are you planting cantaloupe, and then, the ideas come or the resolution you're looking for.
Last chance. Before we say goodbye, Jen, do you want to show off the hat that your assistant made?
So, I think some of you saw this when I came in, but a dear, dear friend, you can find her on Love.
You're looking at me like, hey,
John! Love in Every Quilt made this hat. And if you come up and look at it, what's amazing is the stitching is spider webs.
So you're saying people could order their own witch's hat?
Yes.
Okay, there you go.
But feel free to come up and look at it. It's adorable, and I love it.
Well, now is the time where we say thank you to our authors for joining us. Thank you, virtual audience. When you purchase the books, you should have a signing ticket with a number. We go by number for the signing. As you stand up, if you fold up your chairs, put them over where the cookbooks are, we'll get the authors ready. I know we have more books up front if you need to get some. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.